Hi, this is Beth Azor, and this is my podcast, I Own a Shopping Center, Now What? So I'm going to continue to talk this week about budgets because I'm knee deep in them, and I wanted to share some of the things that I look for and look at when I'm reviewing the budgets, because I'm not doing the budgets, someone else is doing the budgets. It's a combination of my director of operations / property manager and our CPA who does our quarterly financials for the partners. So those two put together the budgets with my income projections, but they have a handle on costs. So right now I have 4 properties, so I'm reviewing 4 budgets. So I start obviously with the base rent income, and I make sure that across the board goes up. That obviously makes sense, but every once in a while there's a glitch and I catch the income going down and I want to know, well, why is that? And maybe it's because an anchor tenant's moving out and for 3 months or 6 months the income drops. But I don't have any anchors, so I should not have anything like that happening. But it's important that I go from January all the way across the board to December and check that income. I do the same thing for the expense recovery, which is the next line. That also should never be dipping unless, again, a significant vacancy would occur. And then I have operating expenses that are passed through. So we have G&A, utilities, landscaping, cleaning and trash removal, repairs and maintenance, insurance, management fees, and real estate taxes. What I like to do is compare them property to property per square foot to see if there is a big swing somewhere, a big difference, and why is that? So I check that out. I also make sure that I'm going to talk about 2 things here, the mortgage, principal and interest, the same thing about going across the board and seeing if that stays consistent. I just found in one of my budgets that it was all over the place, and we're checking on why. I don't think I have a variable rate. I don't know why it would go from 11.6 to 11.7 to 11.004 to 11.944 to 12.039. So they're checking on that. And then if the mortgage company is escrowing taxes and insurance, are we making a mistake by double dipping them on the budget, by having it be in the mortgage principal, but then also listing it as an expense? So obviously the tenants pay for the taxes and insurance in the CAM and the operating expense recovery, and they don't pay for the mortgage. So we need to back those numbers out. I also check to make sure if we're doing any capital that they've posted it in the right months of the year. For example, if I'm going to do paving, striping and resealing, or painting the building, I never want to do those in Florida between May and September, which are our rainy months. We could pay for them in those months. Like I could do the work in February, March, and April, and then pay for them in May and June. But I don't want to do the work during the rainy months because it dilutes the paint of both the paving and the paint on the building. So we always want to do that in the drier months, and I don't want to do them in the middle of holiday season. Or in one case, at one property, I have Caneswear, which does 75% of their business during September through December. So the last thing I would want to do is pave the parking lot those, September, October, November before the holidays in front of their store. So making sure that any capital expenses are put in the right months as far as payment, and then being thoughtful of when the work is going to be completed. And then we have things like bus benches that we pay for marketing for the tenants. They're on our major street in front of our 3 properties, and 3 of the 4, and making sure that they've accounted for not only the expense, but also the income from the tenants in the other income category. So those are some of the things that I look for and look at I look at leasing fees. If I think I'm going to be doing, let's say, a national tenant deal, and I'm going to hire an attorney to negotiate the lease, I make sure that I have legal fees in non-recoverable expenses. I look at the details of the CAM, the insurance, the real estate taxes, and the CAM per tenant, the way they have it split out on the budget to make sure nothing jumps out. I look at renewals to see when they have posted, when I'm going to renew and what rates, to make sure they've captured my projections. Yeah, so I just bought into a property and they've never done a budget, so this will be the first year that we're actually doing a budget. I think it's very important to have a budget, to look at cash flow across the board for the entire year, to see, what are the months that, because of capital, you may be negative in cash flow. And if that's the case, do you really need to do those capital improvements? Can you push them to a different month that might look more healthy with higher cash flow? So those are things that I pay attention to when I'm doing the budgets. Do you guys do budgets? If not, I highly recommend it. And I hope you guys are getting value from the podcast. If so, please share it, like it, comment. Love to hear from you all. A lot of you I heard from last week regarding the takeover list. So those of you that got the takeover list, I hope that it added value to your takeover process. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great week. Hey, listeners of I Own a Shopping Center, Now What? We have done some research and we have found out that 92% of the listeners are men in the ages of 50 to 70. So what I wanted to do is shout out to all of you. Thank you for listening. But I wanted to shout out to all of you. If you have a wife or a sister or a daughter, I have a conference every year in March called the Women's Real Estate Investment Summit. There are 250 women that attend, and probably 75% of them are investors in all kinds of different asset classes. We've had women that are fix and flippers, women that have invested in storage, hospitality, student housing, of course, retail, and you name it, senior living, multiple different asset classes, car wash funds. And the women in the room, what I do is I interview women that are investors, and then those women go into breakout rooms and do like a deep dive on how they underwrite their deals, multifamily, etc. And a lot of the women in the room have started investing with each other, which is great, which is helping my goal and mission of getting more women to invest in commercial real estate. But if you have a wife, a daughter, a sister, a mother, that maybe you want them to learn a little bit more about the industry, or maybe they're running your properties with you, have them come. It's March 4th through the 6th. We opened registration last week. We've already sold over 50% of the tickets. I highly predict that we will be sold out by year end. Maybe this would be a great holiday present for the woman in your life. So think about it. You can find out all of the information on bethazor.com. Just scroll down to the summit and you can read all about it there. It is life-changing for the women who attend. At least that's what all the testimonials tell me. And this will be our 6th year. So we've really honed it in and figured it out. So would love to see the ladies in your lives come and meet me and talk about real estate investing. Ciao.